A madman is on the hunt in Alexandria, Virginia.
He was a serial killer.
His first trophy, Nancy Dunning. 10 years later, he claims his second victim, Ron Kirby. And now, Ruth Ann Lodato. All executed the same way. They opened their front doors and came face to face with the barrel of a gun. The killer, armed with identical bullets, silent but deadly subsonic ammunition.
You once referred to him as the Alexandria assassin.
He definitely engaged in what can only be termed assassinations.
What the assassin didn't know is when he knocked on Ruth Ann's door, she wasn't alone like his other two victims.
A caretaker was also present in the home, and the caretaker heard the commotion.
When the caretaker runs to help, the killer takes aim at her and fires the last two bullets in the chamber.
One missed her and one hit her in the arm, but he didn't kill her, and then he fled.
But not before the caretaker gets a good look at his face.
What did he look like?
White male in his 50s or early 60s with gray hair and a gray beard, and actually we were able to produce a composite sketch of what he looked like.
And a surveillance camera catches the killer trying to make his getaway.
There he is.
You'll see a different angle in a second.
It's taken 2 minutes after Ruth Ann Lodato is murdered.
You can see on that video a maroon station wagon traveling away from the general location of the Lodato home. And indeed, if you actually freeze frame it and look very closely, it appears that there's a white male with a beard driving.
The video is too grainy to read the plate, but cops do notice something unique about the car.
You can just see this white blob on the back of the bumper.
Armed with the sketch and video of the car, the chief of police holds a news conference and pleads for the public's help.
We are looking for any leads and any information that would help us resolve the case.
The calls just flooded in, much like the DC sniper case. I think in the end they got something like 2,000 tips.
One of the calls, a bizarre tip, pointing the finger at a former Alexandria mayoral candidate named Charles Severance. This is video of Severance at a local debate.
I believe these measures, if taken, will improve the city of Alexandria.
Investigators go back to that surveillance video of a man following Nancy Dunning the day she was murdered. They're stunned. He looks almost identical to Charles Severance. He even appears to be wearing the same black leather jacket he had on during the debate video.
The man depicted in the video is definitely consistent with Severance, including the widow's peak.
There's one problem. Neither Severance nor the man in the video looks anything like the most recent police sketch of the suspect. Then, they discover a possible link between the former mayoral candidate and the killer's second victim, Ron Kirby.
One of his platform planks was that he did not want the Woodrow Wilson Bridge going through the south part of Alexandria. Ron Kirby was instrumental in the Woodrow Wilson Bridge actually being built.
That's enough to send cops to Severance's house.
This detective left a business card. That detective received an email from Charles Severance's email account, and the email said only, "I received your business card," period. No mention as to whether or not Severance was going to meet with the detective.
But before there's time to follow up with Severance, another peculiar call comes in, this one from the United States Secret Service, saying a bearded man bearing a striking resemblance to the police sketch was caught trying to sneak into the Russian embassy.
He tells them that the city of Alexandria is persecuting him and he's seeking asylum.
Embassy guards don't hold the man, but before he takes off, they snap this picture of his car.
The car was an exact match for the vehicle depicted on the footage from the surveillance camera on the day of the Lodato murder.
And the car is registered to, you guessed it, Charles Severance.
You think he knew?
I think he thought the police were onto him.
A few days later, police capture Severance on the run in West Virginia. And remember that white blob on the bumper sticker? Authorities finally get a closer look.
And I went to the back, and there's a circular bumper sticker on the bumper. It's black and white, and it says around it, Assassination City Derby, and in the interior of the sticker is a revolver with 5 rounds missing from it.
Chilling, because the Alexandria assassin used a pistol with just 5 bullets, but it's what they find inside the car that sends shivers down their spines.
These are all of his writings?
They are. Those are the contents of a green notebook that was recovered from inside of his vehicle.
It's now called Severance's Manifesto of Hate.
The real analogy is the Unabomber. He wrote about murdering people. He wrote about his motives for murdering people. He wrote about his obsession with these particular firearms. Things like the scream of a victim echoes to eternity. Subsonic ammunition makes sweet, sweet music.
Possibly the most disturbing, a self-penned poem to the city's elite called The Parable of the Knocker.
In that parable, he writes, knock and the door will be answered, and then it finishes with really one of the most chilling lines. It says, knock, talk, enter, kill, exit. Murder, murder, wisdom.
Also in that green notebook, what prosecutors believe to be his motive for murder.
One of the writings said, can you forgive someone for kidnapping your child? Can you murder someone for kidnapping your child? Murder is good.
Police say Severance was holding a decade-long grudge for the loss of his little boy in a nasty child custody case. And in his twisted mind, murdering the people in power or their family members was his only revenge.
So the motive in all of this, at the end of the day, falls down on that custody dispute all those years.
The writings absolutely established that, Michelle.
Severance is charged with first-degree murder for the death of Nancy Dunning and 2 counts of capital murder for the assassinations of Ruth Ann Lodato and Ronald Kirby. Prosecutors expect Severance to plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
What mental illness does Mr. Severance have specifically?
Schizotypal personality disorder with paranoid features, which shares a lot of components of paranoid schizophrenia.
What was the defense's case?
From the very beginning, the defense was he didn't do it at all.
Despite his terrifying manifesto of murder, Severance's attorney Joseph King and Chris LEIBIG say cops just got the wrong guy.
Even though he was speaking about or writing about murders in affluent neighborhoods, you can't directly match that to Alexandria or to the homes where these happened.
You cannot.
But how did they explain that bumper sticker? The surveillance tape in 2003, the video of the bearded man and his getaway car leaving Ruth Ann Lodato's house moments after her murder.
There are a number of witnesses that knew Mr. Severance at the time in 2003 that testified at the trial that was not him.
But the most compelling evidence against Severance, the killer's sole survivor, Ruth Ann Lodato's caretaker.
She was able to point to him and say, that's the man who shot me.
She was able to point to him and identify him in the courtroom.
And that was enough to find Charles Severance guilty of all 3 murders.
And does he continue to maintain his innocence?
I can't answer that.
Commonwealth attorney BRYAN Porter says even though a sentence of 3 life terms plus 48 years assures his city is safe from Charles Severance, he still has one heartbreaking regret. Sheriff Jim Dunning, who many suspected murdered his wife Nancy, died before he was vindicated.
Unfortunately, he didn't live to see his name publicly cleared.
Was justice served for you and your family?
It was served in a legal manner, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't bring my dad back or any of the other family members.
Ann Hayes still lives in the same house, but there's an empty room in her heart.
My fondest dream is to see him again in heaven.
I hope you do too.
Thank you.
Severance appealed his conviction, but that appeal was denied. I'm Chris Hansen. If you like this story, make sure you tune in every day to Crime Watch Daily. You can find where the show airs in your city at crimewatchdaily.com. Watch it live or record it on your DVR and watch it at night. And to all those criminals out there, remember, we are watching.